Hello, can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining today's session. My name is Kotha Hussein. I will be your host today. Today we're going over how to prepare for a virtual career fair. I know with everything that is happening, a lot of schools and a lot of organizations and universities went through are going to a virtual platform. And I don't know if some of you have attended the NSBE Career Fair this past month, but we had a virtual career fair, and I was really impressed with the setup and the platform that we used. I personally liked it a little bit better than the one that they had in March. So I don't know what our participants here, what schools do they go to, and what platform is the university itself using?
Yeah, so maybe we
So
take a
depending,
moment and just kind of see what schools do we have represented on the call. Do you want to just put it in the chat or tell us verbally? Averett University, okay. Any others? North Carolina A&T State University, awesome. Central Florida, okay. All right, I think there's some more people are continuing to put those in the chat. Colorado University of Boulder. And
wow.
awesome. So have any of you had experience already with doing a virtual career fair? If so, just raise your hand. Anyone? Okay. All right. We still have a few people coming in, but yeah, so as Kotha mentioned, it is a little different. I'm actually going to be doing one next week with North Carolina State University. So the platform again is different. And I know Kotha, you're going to just kind of go over some general things, and then we can chime in and talk about give some feedback on our experience as recruiters from a virtual fair and what students can do better so that they have a more impactful experience with landing a position. And if you have questions as we go through this, just put those in the chat, and I'll watch the chat as Kotha walks us through the deck.
Oh yes. So again, this is a general career fair prep. I like starting with the presentation. I'll just a heads up that I would treat this as a general career fair, just like you would prepare for like a in-person career fair, like the same process that you usually go through with your resume, looking up companies, and that's what, like the outline that I will go through the presentation, and then talk about specific things you can tweak to actually gear or focus on the virtual concept of the fair. Okay. All right. So again, this presentation is by the RTP chapter, which is Research Triangle Professionals. And then we have different schools today. So there's a little bit of introduction. My name is Kotha Hussein. I am the collegiate initiative for this year. And the person that was speaking a little bit ago is our president. Her name is Tony. Yeah, so welcome. This is the agenda for our presentations today to get how like the general aspects on how to put together your resume, what things recruiters look for, and how you can make sure that your resume stands out whenever you have it on the portal. And then how the general steps whenever you start looking for a job or an internship throughout a career fair, and the various interview types and how to prepare for them. Okay. So in general, whenever you're doing you're working on your resume, the biggest thing in general for resumes is your action verbs. So how to, whenever you have a job description, or sorry, whenever you have a job that you want to display on your resume, how to make sure that you are wording it right. So the biggest things that stand out on a resume is usually your action verb, what words you use to describe them. Those like usually and the action verbs and are usually at the beginning of your sentence. Another thing is your LinkedIn profile. Since this is a virtual career fair, from whenever we did the NSBE career fair, it was really challenging to talk to students the same way we used to talk to them whenever we in person career fair. So a lot of students that were there that I was very impressed with leveraged LinkedIn. So if we have like a 10-minute to talk to student, and then 80% of that time is spent on typing and trying to reply back, you might not get the same impact that you had in a regular face-to-face career fair. So we leveraged a lot of LinkedIn profiles and connect after the career fair, after everything kind of calms down, and send your questions out. And that way we can have more personalized relationship. And lastly, include all the career, like relevant career enhancing experience. So we might have some freshmen or like sophomores that might not have had any internships. So make sure that you leverage any job or any experience you had if you're on a part of NSBE board, or even if you did the regular volunteering at work. If a family member of yours have like a business that you just help out on weekends, it doesn't have to be something official, but any job outside of school that you did, even like that are outside of your academic classroom, just like other than you going to class and doing your homework.
And also on that note, Kotha, I was going to chime in and say a lot of students who have had internship jobs still leave those off. So it's important, to include, like Kotha said, if it's volunteerism, that's for Engineers Without Borders, or maybe it's the Helping Hand project that does 3D printing for youth who need prosthetic hands. Make sure you include that as relevant experience.
Yeah. So when I first did my first when I started first looking for jobs, I used to work at a gas station, and that was there on my resume. Like, it's not engineering related, but it's a job that I had during when I was going to school, so it counted. So one of the best guides we found that goes in detail, and that's some of the resumes and information we're using today is the North Carolina State University Career Guide. They have a very spelled out steps on how to build your resume, what things to do, what not to do. So if you don't get the chance to get a lot of this presentation, or you don't get a lot of the points, visit the North Carolina State University Career Guide. It's really amazing, and goes through step by step of things you should do. So this is general, like a sample career, a sample resume. They're just like the general outline. The outlines for different resumes really differ. There's no right or wrong. I've seen different ways people put on resumes. It doesn't really matter what the format you're using is most of the time, as long as you have these big bullet points where you make sure your name and your address or your phone number, email is all very outlined on the headline, and it's very bold. And then if you're still in school, your education goes on top, and your work experience. And then after that, any volunteer experience or any position you held in organizations, go there. If you have projects, go on at the bottom too. And then some people include and some people don't. Sometimes the skills, but if you have something that is extraordinary that not a lot of people find in regular career fair, for example, like if you speak different languages, if you can code different languages, those are sometimes where you put your coding languages that you know, or equipment that you know how to use. For example, if you're in chemistry and you know how to use different analytical equipment, this is where you usually put it. Another thing is some people put their objectives on top, at the beginning before the education, usually what they're looking for, if it's an internship full time. There's a lot of debate on whether it's important or not, but usually if it's a face-to-face career fair, I usually wouldn't put it, because whenever I'm introducing myself into during the elevator pitch, I would tell the recruiter what I'm looking for. So I would say, I'm looking for an internship. I'm interested in a full-time opportunity. So I already said it. There's no reason for me to waste space and put an objective there. But now in a virtual career fair, if you don't get to talk to anyone or something like that, usually I would put it there. Just to keep it very short, very simple. There doesn't need to be a few paragraphs talking about, like, there doesn't need to be a full paragraph talking about your experience. They can see that all at the bottom.
Yeah, good point, Coulter. I would also add that, remember, you can also put your LinkedIn page on your resume. So anything additional, if you want to make your resume a concise one-pager at the most, two, you can also refer people to your LinkedIn where they can see more detail about you.
Yeah, a lot of people did that at the NSBE career fair too. Whenever they were writing their elevator pitch, everyone was kind of pointing out to their LinkedIn, and I think that's great too. Now with LinkedIn, you can actually have a barcode that you can put on top of your resume, and that way it can be scanned.
Right.
And that way maybe you can save space if space is an issue with and usually that's a big issue during a resume. So like I talked at the beginning, the biggest thing on a resume is your action verb. And the action verbs are usually used to strongly indicate the value you added to whatever you were working on. If it was either you created or you managed a project, those words are usually very strong words that are powerful words to show what impact you had on whatever you were doing. And so these are some of the action verbs, usually approved, budgeted. I use a lot of created, organized, or classified, or managed, usually are very popular words. I'm not going to go through a lot of them, but usually they're categorized in different categories where depending on what you did or what you're trying to portray, you can use those words.
And also too, Coulter, just so people know how important these are, a lot of times your resume is going to go through some type of program, database, where it will be searched, and it's searched by these words. So there's certain words that will be searched, keywords, action verbs, and that's how they look for, companies when they have thousands of resumes. They're going to have some way of filtering them down, and that's usually done through some type of a program, automated software, and they'll have words that they're looking for. So these words that are in the NC State guide have already been identified based on, what is searchable.
All right, so like I said, like we talked earlier, your LinkedIn is going to have a huge impact on your experience in a virtual career fair. At the beginning, when one of the biggest things or challenges with the virtual career fair during NSBE was there are not a lot of interaction, a lot of time to talk to people. Most of the time is spent typing or trying to portray what you're trying to say in a more professional way. If you didn't have, if someone asked you a question you didn't previously prepare for or previously drafted out. So getting someone's LinkedIn and trying to communicate with them after the career fair is the best way you can maximize or network at these events. So make sure your LinkedIn is very up to date, have a great, a professional photo, have a personalized headline that speaks about what you're looking for, or what makes you a unique candidate for every position you're looking for. And then have a summary of the biggest, your achievements or things that you wanted to highlight. Your education, of course, should be there. And then everything basically that is on your resume should be on your LinkedIn, if not better. LinkedIn is, I would even put more things that I didn't have on my resume on my LinkedIn, because there's no cap on pages or words or anything. So I would put more work experience, even if they're not related to anything that I'm looking for. Just the fact that I have something in that arena might make me stand out versus the other candidates, right? And
And also,
then skills. Sorry. Okay.
I would say also on your LinkedIn page, you can put like work samples, presentations that you've done. You can get recommendations written by your peers and colleagues. So it does give recruiters a more holistic look at you and your capabilities.
Yeah. And then in LinkedIn, whenever you put your skills, you can have your colleagues vote on that specific, or like endorse you for that specific skill, right? If you're, for example,
Yep.
you know how to code Python, so your other colleagues that you worked Python with before, or they know your work ethics, would endorse you based on that skill. And I think that's a great way to kind of show your work ethics or your expertise in that area. So these are the do's and don'ts for LinkedIn, right? So always customize your connection request. Don't just ask people's connection just because you want to ask them. You have to have a connection where they accept your LinkedIn connection. You have something to talk to them about, or else you're just wasting people's connection. LinkedIn then loses the value of it, right? It's not a Facebook account. Stay active on posts, replies. I have a lot of colleagues that are like make posts or comment on relevant experience. For example, if a company published that they're working on a new project, a colleague, for example, shares that or talks about how this project would be good for your environment. That's a great way for you to stay current with everything what other companies are doing. Connect with alumni is connecting with alumni is the best way to make sure you expand your reach. So if you're connected with someone that you don't know or you haven't talked with before, you didn't have a like they say, if you didn't shake hands with, an alumni connection is the best way to do so. So if that person went to school, you already have a commonality between you and that person, and you can start the conversation that way.
That's that Joe Burrow.
Okay.
Somebody's not on mute there.
Yep.
I got to carry it.
There you go.
Also, too, I was going to just add that when you meet recruiters at the fair, ask them if it's okay to link with them on LinkedIn. Ask them if it's okay for you to connect with them on LinkedIn. So that's the professional thing to do. So they will remember you. So when you link to them, you can say, hey, I met you at such and such fair. It was nice chatting with you. So, it is professional and approved. And if you share any information about your internship or your job, make sure it's okay to post it. There may be some things that the company may not want posted. So just make sure that whatever you're sharing is approved or public information.
All right. So whatever you're doing, your LinkedIn, make sure, like we talked about this already. So make sure you include your internship, your volunteer experience, your jobs, your research, if you have any research experience in school, if you published any papers. I wouldn't put any like random courseworks, but I would put the projects that you did. If, for example, if you're a chemical engineering student and you had to take, like if you just randomly took some computer science or courses that are not on your curriculum, I think that's something you can post, you can have on there, because it's added value. And then just put your projects.
So
and then
why don't we pause for a moment, see if there's any questions in the chat, or anyone who have any anyone on the line have any questions or anything so far? Okay.
Anyone got questions?
I don't see any.
No.
All right, we'll keep moving.
All right, so now going to finding a job. So you find the job, but this is where you have to prepare for your career fair, right? So preparing for a career fair, first of all, I didn't add this to the presentation, but look at whatever platform they're using ahead before the career fair starts, and look up. Usually the company that is hosting that career fair would have tips on how to navigate the platform, what to do, where to go if you have an interview, or if you have, if you want to look at a specific company, like navigate through the platform before the career fair starts. So it's going to be overwhelming. And when you do so, look at the list of companies that are attending, write down the companies that you're interested in, and then have the relevant information about that company. Like, which one are you going to visit first? If you want to visit them, what jobs do they have opening? What jobs are you interested in? Look at the company values. How do they resonate with you? Just make sure you're prepared. And prepare your elevator pitch. Usually an elevator pitch is a 20 to 30 seconds spiel talking about yourself, your major, your GPA, what you're looking for. But since this is a virtual career fair, you have to have that written down ahead of time. Like, for example, my name is Kauthar Hussain. I'm a chemical engineering senior looking for a full-time opportunity within your company. I have previous experience with Boeing or Eli Lilly, and then have that written down ahead of time. So whenever you have someone that you're talking to one-on-one, you can post that in whatever chat platform you have.
And also too, Kauthar, on the posting, so on in a virtual fair, one thing I noticed at the NSBE conference is I could tell when someone was copying and pasting information that was like off the web. So when you're talking to companies, recruiters, make sure it sounds personable and that you're just not copying and pasting, because they can tell, that you're doing that. So when you're asking them or just kind of, showing that you are familiar with their company, put it in a format like, I found it interesting to know that you are, a leader in your industry for blah, blah, blah. Make sure it sounds like conversation.
Also, don't copy, like, where people copying and pasting from the website.
Yeah, we could tell.
Oh.
And then, now if you are going to, I know you have to save time and be efficient. The elevator speech, you maybe could get away with that one because that's you and it's, your work and it's personal. So I would say if you have something that you're going to copy and paste in a chat, your elevator speech, your elevator pitch rather, you can keep that pretty concise. If it is video, of course, you would need to memorize it. You don't want it to sound like you're reading it, but I would practice it multiple times and listen to myself. I would record myself on video. I record myself on audio and listen to myself doing my elevator pitch, and get it to flow naturally. So when you do a video fair, it comes across naturally as well.
Yep. And another thing to do is to start practicing for behavioral questions before the career fair. Usually during like a regular career fair, when you talk to someone, they usually would throw a few questions at you, even if it's not like an official interview, but everything is an interview in general. So they'll ask you, tell me a little bit about yourself, or tell me a little bit about this project. So make sure you already practice some of the general questions that, like general behavioral questions that are out there.
Right. And one question that, should not stop candidates is, why do you want to work for my company? You should be able to answer that.
Yes.
Maybe it's, you heard something about, their development program, or you know something about their history, but be ready to answer that question, and don't, be surprised when you get that.
Yep. And another thing is, I have had few candidates would tell me, I'm interested in this specific, like, for example, validation engineer. And when I asked them what makes you a great candidate for that position, they don't know how to answer. They were like, well, it's a great position, it's a great opportunity, and I think I'll be great for it. That's really not a great answer. You have to be more specific on if you're bold enough to mention a position that you're interested in, you have to be able to back up your answer of why are you interested in that specific position? What makes you a great candidate? What is it in there and like in the job description that matches your resume? One more bullet point that Tony told me a while ago is to have, if you have like a visual aid or a portfolio of some kind, like if you have a 3D print on a motor that you worked on, or if you had something that you designed, a specific app that you worked on, and you have like some examples on how it works, that would be a great way to kind of show or showcase your skills. To be honest, never had someone do that, but from the other people's experience, it's a great way to kind of prove that you're capable of performing the jobs, or you're capable of implementing whatever you have on your resume.
And in the virtual environment, a great way to do that would be on your LinkedIn page. You could send a link to the specific item on the LinkedIn page in the chat, or if it is a video discussion, maybe you could even show it on the screen, or ask if it's okay to email, that component to them, or if it's on a device and it's something that they can see, you could show that on the screen as well. But think of how you would want to present that in advance so that you're ready to show it and can get to it easily during your conversation and quickly.
Here's just a summary of what we talked about whenever during preparing for a career fair, is to have the list of the company and do your research on them, compile a key facts sheet of like their values, what work they do, the jobs that they have open that you're interested on, have a proofread, like to have someone else look at your resume before you post it. And here's just dress up. And I want to emphasize on how important that is. Even though this is a virtual career fair, don't be on your phone in bed wearing pajamas scrolling through. It's all about the mindset that you have, right? Even if you don't have like a full-on suit, I would say like, clean up, dress nice, so that actually would internally, psychologically boost your confidence and make you feel like you're a professional. And I cannot emphasize that enough.
Yeah, especially if it is going to be a video discussion, it is probably a good idea to dress fully, because your camera could maybe show beneath your waist, and you want to make sure you have on a full outfit, and you also want to make sure your lighting in your room, wherever you're going to have your discussion on the video, make sure it all depicts its best presentation of you.
Yep. This is an example of like a company check sheet. So example, the company name, interesting information. I really wouldn't mention wouldn't have like the when the company started, but interesting facts that I would be interested in. If they had a female CEO, if they had a very diverse board of directors, things that will actually make our conversation whenever I'm talking to a recruiter interesting. The core values of the company is really important. Usually it determines how you approach them, how you talk about it, how you talk about the company, and what keys on your resume you want to focus on to target their the company values.
Right. And make sure you have current information too. The blue bulletins is where you can kind of find like what's going on with this company right now. And also don't bring up anything that's kind of like controversial in the news with them, or negative about them in the news. Kind of stay away from those things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, if it was like a current news, even if it's a negative thing, I would say you have to be able to talk about it in a discussion without make it a very negative situation. I had a few candidates that will talk about like a specific news that popped up about our company, but they weren't really portraying it very negatively. But if you're not good at it, yeah, I guess stay away from it.
Yeah.
So first impressions, to make sure you dress. A lot of this doesn't really count if you're in a virtual environment, but first impressions always counts, right? Whenever you're talking to someone in like a chat, and like you requested a recruiter's chat to chat with you, the person accepted, and then you don't say anything, or you leave within the middle of the conversation, or you
Right.
take about 10 minutes to reply back, all of that really counts, right? If you're taking too long, then you're betraying to the recruiter that you're not interested. You have other things to do. You have more important things. You're talking to other companies, and you probably are, and it's fine if you're talking to different companies, but make sure you respect the recruiter's time, because they'll probably have 10 or 15 other conversations that they're actually waiting for. So make sure you're very vigilant of that.
Right. That was one thing I would say for the NSBE fair, Coulter, that was kind of different the first time I had experienced that, as a recruiter, is in the chat. It's very hard for me, it was hard for me to like really get to know the candidate, because they were all pretty much saying the same thing, or the answers were short and quick. It was kind of like they were texting and not really having a conversation. So you have to be pretty creative to stand out in a chat format. Maybe you've connected with them because you asked the recruiter some questions about how do you like working for your company, and how long have you been there, what do you find most challenging, like you said some things that made it seem more of a connection. So just think about that. Just because it's chat doesn't mean it's easy. You have to be actually a little bit more intentional to stand out, because we don't have the opportunity to read body language, to see your face. It's all words. So you really have to put more effort into making sure you make a connection with the recruiter.
And you know what, Tony, this can be a challenging thing, but at the same time, it can be an advantage. So I have a colleague or a friend of me that I went to school with, and she's really not, like, she's just not great with career fairs. She gets very flustered. She doesn't know how to talk. But whenever it was a virtual environment, she's like an introvert, so she was able to talk to people better than she would in a personalized environment. So this actually worked out very well in her advantage. And she was able to get an offer from it, but that's not everyone. So make sure that if you're the personal type, make sure that your personality comes out in your chat. It might be a very short chat, but your answers cannot be yes, no, I'm interested, how can I get a job? But it can't be those generic. It has to be very personalized. And another thing that I've noticed in the career fair is a lot of students were waiting for me to ask the questions, rather than them being proactive.
Right. Yeah. Yep. That time that's kind of like your chat or your video booth kind of time, like the one I'm doing next week at NC State. There's going to be 10 minutes with each of the candidates that I have an appointment with. So that's really their time to talk to me, and I'm not gonna, ask a lot. I have their resume. I'll look at it and see what they, put on it, what they're interested in, intern or full time. But that's their time to shine. So I'm expecting them to, in maybe like 5 minutes, tell me what they're looking for, some of the great skills that they offer, and then ask questions to me about the company.
Yep.
And it will be video. So I'm hoping that they lead the conversation. That's what we expected them to do.
Yep.
All right. I do see we did have a question that came in on the chat. Do you want to pause and take it, or you want to go through a few more slides?
We can take it.
Okay. So the question was about how do you put coursework on the resume? I've seen this a couple of different ways. make sure that it's value added coursework, meaning if you haven't had a lot of experience yet with internships, make sure it's coursework that's going to let the hiring company know your capabilities. Like I've had Circuits 2, or I've had, Python, or I know how to make dashboards, so I had Data Analytics 1. So make sure that it's coursework that's going to be showing your proficiency. And, don't just put every class up there that you've had, because we'll get your transcript. So make sure it's those things that are going to make you stand out. Now, once you've had several internships or other career enhancing experiences, you don't need to spend as much of your space on coursework, because now you're demonstrating your capabilities in your work and in your projects and in, an experiential learning way. So those are my thoughts about that. Did you have anything else you want to add, Coulter?
So if it's where to put it at, I would usually put it around like at the bottom, where like under the skills area, I would put like a small little coursework and post the coursework that I've taken. Just like you said, it has to be value added. So usually I would put courses that are not a part of my degree plan. That's the only ones that I would usually put there. And if they are, another way to put it in is like if you're a freshman or a sophomore and you want to tell the recruiter that you've taken some of your core classes, even though you're a freshman, I'll post that. Like I'll put the course that I did there. Yeah, I wouldn't put all the jobs or all the courses that I've taken throughout my 4-year degree in there, because it's pointless.
Right. And just to kind of find a reference, just look at the NC State guide. I know I've seen some resumes in there that has some examples on how they're doing it.
One but more thing about this slide is to be patient and considerate, because whenever you're in a virtual career fair, there's like 5 recruiters. There's not really you can't visually see the line there. So you're just talking to this one person. You don't know how many chats they have queued. So whenever you post a question, to make sure you're patient. Don't exit the conversation if they don't reply within 2 or 3 minutes. And just wait it out and see what happens. And just like the recruiters are able to kind of have several conversations, you as well can have several conversations, but make sure you stay in that booth long enough to actually get a one-on-one chat with a recruiter. That's it. So personal interactions. I think the best thing about career fairs, or what I like mostly about career fairs, is the networking opportunity. I went to so many career fairs, but I never got jobs from all of them, right? It was depending on the positions that they have available, whatever. But the best thing I got from all my career fairs is that I've networked with people. I got to meet a lot of people, even though if I didn't get a job from whatever company they were representing. Then now that is very challenging during the virtual career fairs. So that's why getting that person's LinkedIn and connecting with them later is the best way to deal with it. So that way that the recruiter will be able to kind of create a report or have some type of impression on you'll be able to create an impression on them. So later on, they'll be able to remember you by name.
Also, too, I see where it says finding common ground. That really works. I just recall one candidate from the NSBE conference that happened last month. He was a NSBE member. He was also in SHIP. He told me he was the first person to go to college in his family, and it was important for him to finish because he wanted to encourage his younger siblings to go. So those are things that I remember from our chat. So we had some common ground, NSBE. His concern for family, he hit some things that were common ground with me. So I've connected with him fortunately, I was able to recommend him for further, discussion and possibly being interviewed. So that was building a rapport, and we did that in chat. And it was very hard to do that in chat. There wasn't many that I remember. And I also had some people that had reached out to me via LinkedIn since the Biogen event. I've had quite a few people reach out to me on LinkedIn following that.
This is going over the elevator pitch we talked earlier, to have like a small little pre-written out small paragraph about yourself, talking about who are you, what classification, what your area of interest, why are you interested in this specific company. And sometimes people will include like relevant experience. If, for example, if you worked previously or interned previously at a pharma company and you're looking at a pharma now, it's like, oh, I worked with this company and I did this work, and I see that you have a posting in validation open, and I'll be interested in that. But make sure you keep it short. It doesn't have to be an essay. There's something really 4 to 5 sentences max. Everything, Tony?
No, that's great. I was just going to put in the chat when we wrap up, if anyone wants to practice their elevator pitch while we have a video screen here and they want to just try it out, we can save some time at the end for that.
Mm-hmm. This is an example of like your elevator pitch. Hey, my name is Kosar Hussain. I am a junior at North Carolina State University in mechanical engineering. I'm interested in robotics, product design, and manufacturing. I'm seeking an internship or full-time that would give me experience in your autonomous vehicle project or any other that fits my skill set. And then you speak about your relevant experience that pertains to whatever job that you're interested in.
So it's helpful to be able to refer to a posting that you saw on their website. For example, I'm interested in being in your engineering development program because it provides an opportunity for the student to experience different situations and find the best fit for their future. So be able to connect it. It helps out to show that you've already done a little research and you're not, just saying, hey, I'll do anything. Just, whatever you have, I just want to get some experience. You really want to show them that you've made some effort to find out what they have and have an idea what you like.
If you are interested in whatever as well, like I would post that specific, I would mention that job that you're interested in, and at the end of that paragraph, I would say, but I'm open to other opportunities as well.
Yep.
If you don't want to limit yourself.
Yeah, and typically the company will, we would not omit someone from an alternative opportunity because we didn't have what they asked for. We would say, hey, we have this. It's not what you asked us about. Would you be interested? So, but it is good to let them know you're open.
Yep.
So the interview types are screening. So basically that's what I'll be doing at the NC State Fair, and if there's other virtual fairs coming up. The first interaction is usually just screening. We're trying to see who we would like to invite for an interview. So there may be 1 or 2 rounds, and sometimes 3. But that first interaction is just screening. We're letting you tell us what you're interested in, your valuable skills, your relevant experiences, and then we'll rate that and determine who we would like to invite back for an interview. And the interview types, behavioral, that's the STAR method, situation or task, action, result, that approach. The traditional is just, tell me about yourself. Sometimes it's a case or demonstration, meaning that you might have to provide how you would think through something. Maybe you have to solve a problem or demonstrate that you can code, or you go through some code and find errors in it. Or it could be a panel discussion, or it could be one-on-one. And all of these can occur in virtual settings. So don't think that because it's virtual now, this is going to be different or easier. It's still going to be, the same type of situation. So if you have to do, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead.
Oh, okay. If you have to do live video and submit an interview, test it out. If it's live, make sure you know how to use the technology beforehand. And sometimes you've received emails in advance asking for information about you. So for what I'm working on next week with NC State, there's several students who haven't sent me some information to register in our interview app. So I'm going to email them and ask them to send that. But just make sure you prepared yourself so that when we actually do have your interview, we can use the time to actually learn about you. And we won't have any distractions. So for those who haven't sent me what I need, I'm going to have to get it during their 10 minutes. So that's going to take away time from, them actually telling me about their abilities. Make sure that you've removed any distractions, turn off any notifications, so that you don't get any interruptions or calls, and let other people who are in the same space with you, maybe you have a roommate or you're home with family, let them know that you have an interview so they won't interrupt or have some unwanted distractions in the background. And make sure that your lighting is good. You can test it out, your camera in advance, and just wear your best attire, look your best, and dress professionally from head to toe. Phone interviews, yep, we're still having some people that are doing these. They're probably becoming less and less popular, but you could still get a phone interview. Make sure you get the name of the interviewers. You may have to write those down. And even in a video interview, you may have a video interview, write the names down so you can call people by their names. Again, eliminate distractions and background noise. Have your resume on hand for video and phone, and make sure that you know what's on your resume, that you can use examples from your resume in your responses. And also have a list of projects in your, kind of like your short list of, here's my top 5 to 7 signature projects that I'm going to use in my examples that highlight your experience. And then also, when it is phone, you have to leverage your voice to show enthusiasm because they can't see you. So smile. That helps your voice come across in a more pleasant way if you smile when you're talking. And try to sound upbeat and make sure you're speaking clearly and slow enough for them to understand you. All right, screening interview, we talked about that. This is going to be virtual now. So if it's in a chat, again, make sure that you give us enough information to decide, hey, yeah, we want to invite this person to an interview. And even in the chat, as we said earlier, make sure you're using expressive words. You just can't say yes or no. Maybe it's absolutely. I would look forward to that. Make sure that you are speaking as if you were having a conversation and not as if you're texting someone. And also describe what you have to offer the organization. So this is an infomercial about yourself, and then show what you've already demonstrated. Demonstrate what you already know about the company, and the company. The information is on the check sheet that we talked about earlier. And again, why do you want to work for this company? Why are you interested? Be able to say that in your screening interview. All right, when it becomes more of a selection interview, this is when you're going to get into, more detail. The traditional questions, tell me about yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your proudest accomplishment, what motivates you. And the other approach is behavioral. Most companies are using this one now. You describe a specific event, the task, or situation in the role. Say what your role was in your assignment. Maybe it's, I was an intern at GE and I was assigned to solve an issue we were having on the assembly line. The action that I took was, the first thing was collect data, talk to the technicians to understand the problem, I analyzed the data. I got some support from other engineers to point me in the right direction. And I used a computer program, Excel, to run a chart on helping me identify the root cause. And as a result, we were able to minimize the defects by 20% and get the production up to the level required by the end of the summer. So that's just an example how you would walk through situation or task, action, and result. But have those examples thought out, like 5 to 7 examples already thought out. In the behavior style approach, they're actually looking for specific competencies, and those are listed out. They may be in they may be an NC State guide, maybe another a career guide that I've seen those in. But you can find this on Google, just behavior style interview competencies, and look for the top competencies that companies look for. Your decision-making skills, finding, your accuracy, your attention to detail. So maybe they want to know how quickly you find errors in your own work or someone else's work. Working with difficult people. They always ask that one. How creative or innovative are you? So those are competencies that they'll be looking for in the behavior style. And these are just, I already mentioned all of these. Make sure you answer truthfully, that you keep your questions, your responses concise, and that you say your responses in a way that allows the interviewer to type or write information about you. If you say, here was the situation, that helps the interviewer out. So when they're taking their notes, they know you're talking about the situation. And then if you say, the action I took was, that helps them out. So the more you help the interviewer quickly and concisely take notes, the more time they will have to learn more about you, and that will help you out in the interview process. And again, answer truthfully. If they ask you something that you have not truthfully experienced, just ask if there is another question that they can ask you that would not count against you. And usually they have another question that they can ask. So here are some examples of behavioral style where you can get your experiences from. You can talk about your internships, your class projects. If you haven't interned yet, maybe you have some class projects where you had to work on a team, or maybe you worked as an individual contributor, meaning you worked by yourself, or other involvement such as your NSBE experience or the professional societies or any kind of volunteer work you're doing that would be considered career enhancing. Maybe it gives you soft skills. Maybe you work in McDonald's and you're trying to get the drive-through to be faster, or maybe you work for Domino's and you're helping them come up with a new plan for COVID-19 and delivery. So you can use those experiences as well in your examples. All right, and this is just a situation, just a sheet that allows you to have a visual of the different competencies that you might be quizzed on: teamwork, decision-making, persuasion. Have examples for each of these, and if you practice those, it makes it easier for you to remember them during your interview. All right, so this is what your response format should look like. Describe a time when you had to work with a difficult person. That's probably, it's just an example what the interviewer would ask you. And this is what your response should look like. Tell the interviewer your role, title, when it occurred, where it occurred, what occurred, and walk through the STAR method as shown here.
These are just different examples of the STAR method. I don't know if you want to go through them, but anyone has questions or wants to kind of do a quick elevator pitch and practice while we're on this meeting, I think it'll be a great idea.
Okay. All right. So I can we can pause here. Are there any questions? Anybody want to practice anything so far? Does anyone have a career fair coming up soon?
So someone said, Sylvia said, Savannah, I've never been on a virtual career fair. I'm not sure how to navigate it. What school do you go to? University of the Pacific in California.
So Sylvia, there will be, first of all, you need to, know what the platform is going to be. Career Fair Plus is one company that offers I'll put that in the chat, offers a platform with Career Fair Plus from the perspective of the recruiter. It looks like it's pretty easy to use. It's a video platform. You go in and you register, you put your resume in and information about you, and then you make an appointment with the companies that you want to interview with, and you just make sure you keep it with those appointments. I'm pretty sure on the app side you have a schedule, and it's actually an app that you can download to your phone, and it helps you really stay organized at a fair, even when it's in person. Students really like using the Career Fair Plus app. Okay, Savannah, sorry, I don't think I said your name correctly, but do you have any other questions about that? So the format will be either video or chat. And there's different platforms out there. This is kind of new for us all. So, but most of them have been pretty easy to use.
Yeah.
If it's, they usually have like a screen that's kind of put together like a real fair, and you click on the companies that you want to go see. So they will have maybe some actual booths as pictures, and you click on it. And then when you click, there's some instructions or a moderator that will connect you with someone to talk to.
So looking up at
Yes.
the career fair at that specific school, I think just like Tony said, you have an opportunity to schedule a 10-minute conversation and chat directly. They don't have videos from what it says here. But if it's chats, I would still treat it like a regular video interview. I would just prepare my elevator pitch ahead of time, and depending on what company I schedule time with, I will make sure that I know enough information or prepare very well about that company where I wouldn't take that long to think about my answers and will still type naturally.
Yeah, so I do see the question that Savannah asked, does this mean I might be in a wait list with multiple companies at the same time? Yes, it's possible. So just be careful in how you manage your time, because you're like standing in line, if you will, with different companies. And when I was doing the NSBE fair, I might have had like 10 people waiting to talk to me, and I was probably taking 5 to 10 minutes per person.
And I would say that depending on the platform they use, with NSBE, you were able to do that. You were able to stand in line with different companies. So if your school is not using the same company NSBE used, they might not have that capability where they just only let you stand in line for one company. And I just want to keep that in mind, because it wasn't even NSBE career fair. If you just showed up at the career fair and then said you posted something on the general chat and you left, the recruiters can't see you no more. If you leave that page, they can't see you no more. So I would just be cautious of that. If I was going to leave that virtual booth, I would make sure I already have a chat, one-on-one chat open already with the recruiter before I leave that booth.
Right. And if there's one at your school, the Career Center should have some training and instructions on how to navigate the platform. So we do have a question from Vita Nag, wanting to know if the slides will be. Yes, we can make the slides available afterwards. We can send the slides out to those who registered. and we will upload this video on our YouTube channel. All right, does anybody want to practice the elevator speech? Oh, wait a minute, another question. Would service learning be included with internships? Can you explain, Afia, a little bit more about what service learning is? I'm not familiar with what service learning is.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, okay. Working with a department. So kind of like work study, it sounds like. If that experience was career enhancing, if you tell us what you did, you would just put it as a relevant experience. If it was something that, I don't know if you did research or you gained some soft skills, I wouldn't call it an internship unless it was actually posted as an internship. So make sure you're being, accurate about what it was. All right. Thank you, Graham, for joining. Afia, did that answer your question? Okay. Wonderful. You guys are doing really good working with the chat though. So that's just, if you have to do a chat fair, you guys are doing good, kind of giving some details here. All right. I was hoping I could get someone to volunteer and practice the elevator speech. Maybe I can recruit somebody. Let's see who's on. I would say this is a good time to get practice in. If not tonight, definitely practice with someone before your fair. And also our chapter has a career mentoring program where we work with collegiates on a more regular basis. Primarily, we've been working with the schools in North Carolina that we support. So we've been able to kind of, do a little bit more navigating with them. But since everything is virtual, if you are interested in our program, we'll have that information on our website soon and how to participate in it and so forth. In the program, we have professionals who work with you one-on-one and go through this information in a little bit more detail and kind of walk you through actually compiling it. But we would have to know when you have virtual fairs, when they're coming up, and you would need to be committed to providing what's needed in a timely manner. All right, so Kotha, is there anything else?
No, that was all for me.
Okay. All right, if there aren't any more questions, we will go ahead and stop the recording. I'll stick on for a few more minutes and we'll sign off a little early. And I hope this was valuable for you all. Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone.